All right, we welcome you back. Part number 2. Jake Morton coming up next here on the Brave Sports Network. Nate Kilbert will talk about South Alabama coming up here in just a few moments. Want to get a season recap of Alcorn men's basketball with Braves head coach Jake Morton talking about recruiting. Folks have been asking me about recruiting. We're going to recap the season. March Madness in full effect, man. I mean, look at what our SWAC representative is doing. And by the way, there's a dollar amount that's associated with it that the conference gets, Prairie View gets, and it trickles down to every school in the league, and revenue sharing will get that. So Prairie View has Florida coming up, but Prairie View got it done last night. Of course, the Braves took on Prairie View in the SWAC tournament, and Jake Morton's season came to an end at that time. And we'll talk about season number 1 for Braves head coach Jake Morton as he's right here at the table. Coach, we appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, Tom, man. Thank you.
Well, Coach, just talk a little bit about this season so far. And let's start with March Madness. We'll talk about your season, but March Madness has been madness, and the madness started in Atlanta. You know, we took on Alabama State. We kind of struggled there getting in with some injuries and are shorthanded, but you know, we got Alabama State, and then we lost to Prairie View. Obviously, ran out of gas in the second half. You know, how would you assess the season from start to finish as the season ended in Atlanta?
Well, if you want to go back to the start, I mean, we had a very challenging schedule to start off. A lot of the experts said it was probably the most challenging, if not the hardest, non-conference schedule in the season. But it was learning. It was a learning experiences for a lot of our guys. A lot of growing pains. Played some of the top teams in the country throughout the course of that non-conference season. But you know, got through that part of it, and then we got into our conference season. And the one thing we were not able to do in conference season is stay healthy. I mean, we lost a couple of guys to injuries, foot injuries, knee injuries. So we kind of went into the conference season not with a full deck, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the non-conference schedule, how tough was that? I mean, you and I talked, and we can kind of talk about this now. You were telling me that when you arrived, there was only one game on the schedule. So for the most part, you put all these games together. Didn't realize that we were opening up on the road the first 3 in conference. So putting the schedule together and trying to toughen your team up and trying to give them some downtime and try to win some games, what was your philosophy in terms of just putting that non-conference together to lay your foundation for the rest of the season?
Well, the biggest thing was not to run all across the country. I mean, we tried to regionalize the games we played. We tried to stay as close as possible to home. That was a big piece that we tried to do to the best of our ability. Was not entertaining any games out west. Had several opportunities to go out west and play the California schools, the schools out in Washington State. Just didn't entertain that. Didn't think that was the smart thing to do for our guys from the standpoint of school, missing class, and just the travel component of it. So we tried to keep the games as close as possible from a regional standpoint. We tried to play as many SEC schools as we could that were within this region. So I think from that standpoint, I think we did a good job to keep the games close, to get these guys back as much as we could to get back in class. And from that standpoint, it worked. We had a great semester academically, and a big part of it was we didn't run all across the country and keep these guys out of school the whole semester.
How are you able to do that? I mean, you were in Mobile and you opened up in Tallahassee. You're in the Midwest and Iowa and all over. Basically your schedule was for South, Midwest, East schedule.
Correct.
Like you mentioned, you didn't go out west. You could have, obviously.
Yeah, we had great opportunities to go out west. We just was trying to stay east of Mississippi, really, if you want to really call it what it was.
Yeah.
We ended up going to the Midwest a little bit, which was fine. It wasn't terribly far, but we just wasn't going to take those long, grueling 4 or 5 hour plane rides where you're going to, for one game, you miss 3 or 4 days of school. We just wasn't going to do that. That just wasn't in the deck, in the game plan for this year's team and this year's schedule. After the first 2 weeks, things kind of slowed down. I mean, the first 2 weeks were very, very hectic. We were running all over the place. Actually, I take that back. We did go. What do you call Minnesota? What do you consider? Is that west?
The upper Midwest.
Upper Midwest. So we actually did go a little west. We went to Minnesota. I forgot about that game. We did go to Minnesota. That was the furthest game we went.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think everything was kind of, the Midwest or East, Southeast.
If you had to, looking at year 2, I mean, obviously this year's done. As you look at year 2 and you looked at how you scheduled, Any changes in terms of philosophy, how you would schedule, how you're going to schedule here in year two?
Well, I mean, it's going it just depends a lot. I mean, obviously, a lot of the reason why we play these games and we take these type of trips because they pay us a pretty good check, and it's going to all depend on where we need to be from a revenue standpoint. Um, how much money we have to raise from a revenue standpoint. So that was the biggest reason why we play these games because they generate tremendous revenue for our athletic department.
There are people that were really surprised in terms of how much you brought in terms of revenue games, over $1 million.
Yeah.
And you're telling me there was one game that you could have got that you just said, you know what, too
Well,
much travel, and you wanted just to back off a little bit.
Well, it wasn't so much too much. I just couldn't fit it in. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
one of those things where you would have to. I mean, Lily could not fit in. We just would have to play like a crazy back-to-back night,
Yeah.
which I just that's not fair to the guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we looked at it. There was an opportunity to play Drake University. It's so ironic we talk about that because their coach called me this morning. But anyway, Drake University on December 2nd, and we could have played. Well, we did play, and would have played Iowa State on December 3rd. So I just, I went back and forth, but, I think the best thing for our program, the best thing for our kids was not to just wear them down. And I think we got a lot done. We accomplished a lot. We won a game over a top 150 opponent in Indiana State down in the MTE down in Louisiana. So that was great for our program. But it also taught us a lot. We played that game. We came back out the second night. But that was the eye opener for me. I don't know if you remember, we was down in Louisiana and we won that first game, and then we came back and didn't play as well the next night. But
Against La Tech.
Against La Tech, correct. But it showed me something about the depth of our team. Like we were really, we're down guys. It just, we just wasn't a very deep team for a lot of different reasons. I mean, we lost a couple of kids early in the process. One young man was not able to come back in the country because of the not immigration, visa issues. Well, immigration, it wasn't his issue. It was just the country. He couldn't get back in the country. I'm not 100% sure was it his country that was letting him back in, or we didn't allow him to come back in, which is unfortunate for him because he just needed 12 hours to graduate from a university. So that was really unfortunate for him. And the unfortunate part for us, he was 7'2", and we got out rebounded a lot of nights. We could have used 7'2" out there tonight. I mean, this year, and we lost a couple other guys for different reasons early in this process. So, I mean, with all that being said, we had a team of 9 to 10, and then we endured a few injuries going forward. So we were just a very thin team on a lot of levels, and it wasn't by design. It just kind of worked out that way.
You don't make excuses,
No.
and we talked all year long from day one all the way through the end. You're not a coach that makes excuses. Everybody has injuries. I don't know, Coach, if there's too many teams that when it's all whittled down, you had 7.5 players.
Correct.
I mean, it's not an excuse; it's just reality.
Yes.
But it's hard to win. I mean, coaches say, "Give me a good 7 or 8," but that's when you have a roster of 13.
Yep.
But when you have 7.5, 8.5, 8 players total, 9 players total, that's what makes it tough.
This is when a good 7-8 really works. It works when you have 13 guys. I'm going to say for this, on a daily basis, those other 5 guys that don't play as much, they can practice, and they can help those 7-8 that play every night and give them rest and practice.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I really evaluate this and going back and evaluating our season. That was the thing that really hurt us more than anything. We never gave the guys that's logging those huge minutes, 30 minutes, 35 minutes a game, rest the next day in practice or the day after that in practice, because we didn't have that 9th, 10th, 11th guy that can take up the slack in practice. And that's, obviously we're going to fix that. We're going to have a roster of 13 going forward. Actually got a roster of 15. You got up to 15 guys, walk-ons, all that kind of stuff. So we have 15 guys out there next year. That won't be the issue next year. We're gonna get that thing corrected with that, and we're gonna get there's a lot of things we have to address in recruiting with in terms of our rebounding. Just some things that we were really deficient at this year. But it was just a lack of players, lack of bodies, lack of a lot of things in terms of what put us in that hole.
Despite all of that, you open up in conference at Jackson, a game in which we were down 17, lost by 3. Beat Alabama A&M, a team that was playing fairly decent down the stretch going into the tournament. And then some turnovers midway through the second half cost us against Alabama State. So despite all that, despite some of the injuries and despite not winning in non-conference other than Indiana State, of the fact that in conference you were able to battle in the first 3 games, did that surprise you in terms of what the SWAC was about. Jackson State, Alabama A&M, Texas Southern, Prairie View. When we finally did get home, just in terms of what we're able to get done in conference.
Well, let me take, before I answer that question, I want to take one step forward in terms of our non-conference, because it's just the lead up to our conference. We played, like I said, a very challenging schedule. I mean, we have an Iowa State team that we played. That's a potential Final Four team. We played the champions, the three-time, 3 out of 4 year champions in Howard Bisons in non-conference, who will return the game to us next year, which I'm looking forward to that game. And we played a really, and obviously a top 150, RPI top 150 in the state. And if I'm not, La Tech lost in their conference championship to Kennesaw to go to the NCAA tournament. Our non-conference schedule was brutal, and I can't emphasize that, how brutal it was. And that's on me. I mean, I put it together, but I didn't realize that these opponents we were going to be placing were going to be that good. And like I said, we had a brutal non-conference, and then it gets back to your initial question about the conference, and then we lead into those first 3 games that were all on the road that didn't make it any easier, at Jackson. But I was encouraged. I really was encouraged after that swing. We went 1-3, but at Jackson with 2.5 minutes to go, we up 5 points. So actually, it was 3 minutes ago. We was up 5 points, and we hurt ourselves. We got Jamel Morris and fell asleep on a backdoor cut. 2. Not going to make excuses about the refereeing, but 2 questionable calls that were made on the young man Ruffin that I thought was very questionable. There was just a couple of things down the stretch that we just need to take care of better. 1 possession game on the road, ball bounces your way, you can win that game. We come back out the next night, we play Alabama A&M, who I thought was one of the top 3 or 4 teams in this league, without a doubt, from a coaching perspective, player perspective, and we go up there and beat them at home. They were playing really well. I don't think they lost a game at home. I remember talking about that leading to that game. They didn't lose. They beat Tennessee State, who won their league. The OVC, another historically black conference that they participate in the PWI conference, but they won their league. And Alabama A&M beat them at home, along with North Alabama. Just a bunch of really good wins at home. So obviously, it's a very scary game. Another on-the-road game to start our conference season, but we end up winning that game by 2, which was a great college basketball game. And then we come back the next night and play Alabama A&M to finish off that swing. And, a little disappointed because it was a 1-point game. I know you and I talked about this. It was a 1-point game. We had the ball with 11 minutes to go in the game. And we made a couple of bad technical things down the stretch in that game that truly cost us. But it was a learning experience.
And then we come home, one of the last teams in the country to have a home.
Not one. The
last team.
Let's clarify that. Not one of the. We're the last team in the country to play a home game.
Well, I know fans are probably wondering, will that happen next year?
No, because like I said, we have Howard coming to our place. I mean, we're going to start a few more series. We have Howard coming to our place to return that game up there. So we will play a home game. We got to get the dates, all stuff. We haven't, they're busy. They're still playing.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They're still playing. So Kenny Blayton is a really good friend of mine. He's a guy I've known for a long time, a little bit younger than me. We actually played against each other in high school, believe it or not. He used to kick his butt. I can say that. But he was younger. He was younger. It's not his fault. I mean, I was just tougher and bigger. Kenny's a great guy. He played at Duke, so he had a good career. We'll play those guys at home. And it's, they won the MEAC 3 out of the last 4 years. It's like the premier team in the MEAC. So once again, I mean, gun to my head. Why am I playing the best team in the MEAC? Let's go play a team that's kind of struggled in the MEAC. Right? I play the best team over the last 3 or 4 years. But we're not running from the challenge. And our job here and our staff's job here is to get better, to keep growing, and all that kind of good stuff with our roster and our program.
We finally come home, take on Texas Southern. That was the home opener. We know what happened there. Not going to get into that, but we bounced back and beat Prairie View.
You can say it. I mean, talk about it. It was. I mean, I still can't live it down.
Yeah, I mean, it was talked about on social media for days on days. The replay and the officials saying game over, and and I kind of fell for you, Coach, because you're shaking the coach's hands. You're getting ready to head to the locker room, and
never experienced that before.
The Gatorade bath was coming, and then have to come back out and to have that happen.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never seen that, because the thing that was so unique about that whole thing, this is the thing I really get troubled by, is that there was
To this day, do you still think
yes,
about it?
because there was a pause. If you sit right there, you sit right by it.
Yeah,
So we was walking to shake Coach Jones. I was walking to shake Coach Jones' hand. I went up to him and I said, "Great job, Coach. Your team played really hard." Kind of a standard thing to
yeah,
say, right?
yeah,
Which they did play hard. It was a
yeah.
great game, and and before I did that, I'm looking. There was a pause with the three referees, which I've never seen before, and he does the game over. So when he does the game over, that's when I went up and Jones wasn't even looking at me. I mean, he wasn't even paying attention to me. I said what I had to say to him, just and he just ran. I really thought, I'm not lying to you, I thought I almost wanted to stop him because I didn't want him to do anything. I thought he was going to run and try to do something the way he ran at him. No, I mean, I'm being honest with you. Like I was like, should I stop him? What should I do? Like I didn't want him to get in trouble.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, but I mean. Yeah, but he sucks. I mean, I should have stopped him. Maybe I should have tackled him. Maybe I should have tackled Jones. But no,
but that meant that the referee was going to run off the court, and once that happens, that was the game.
No, yes, but I got clearer confirmation on that they still have jurisdiction of court until they leave the building. So even though they did leave the floor, everyone left the floor.
Yeah.
I left the floor. We all left the floor, but they don't lose. They still hold jurisdiction until they actually leave the building.
Yeah.
So that was brought, but it still was a tough deal. It was so many plays in that game. That was a tough. It was a big play. Everyone talks about that play because it was the last one, but there was a huge play that happened at the 42nd mark where we were down one and we had the ball about to make a play, and they knocked the ball out. Clearly knocked the ball out. And this is the part that was really really disturbing to me. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, they clearly knocked. Texas clearly knocked the ball out.
Yeah.
Davion stopped running, and the guy jumped in front of me. He knocks the ball out. From my angle, I couldn't see it. They went and reviewed it and gave the ball to them.
Yeah.
It's a big play.
Yeah.
And I went after the game. I was sick. Just sick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we lose that game to Texas Southern. We come back 2 nights later and beat Prairie View, and we know what Prairie View's doing right now. I mean, they were struggling early. But I look at the conference season. We beat the number one team, one of the hottest teams in the time in Bethune-Cookman. Played pretty decent for a minute against Florida A&M. But it seemed like, and you talked about the depth, the second night of conference, the Saturday, Monday, we did well on Saturday, but then the Monday games kind of hurt us. And then down the stretch, our last 2 road games in conference, we had a 13-point lead at Texas Southern, and then 2 nights later at Prairie View, struggled there. So you're not using an excuse, but the depth, especially the second night of our SWAC routine, which is on Monday nights most times until the back end, that really hurt us. We were prepared and we played well on Saturday nights, but on Monday nights it was a struggle.
Well, it comes down to depth, and it comes down to a lot of things. And it's just so interesting. We're talking about that. I was writing some notes there in the office and going back and forth, and we have to correct all these things that we wasn't really good at this year. And I think one of the things that I wrote down was it preparation and how I prepared for that next game, or was it just the lack of the bodies and depth to have these guys geared up in 48 hours to play again when you played all 7 of the guys you're playing 30 in the 30-minute range. Some guys 40 minutes. So or they just tired. It was just something simple as being tired. And I can tell you, there was the one time I know, like, our lack of depth was a big issue, was against Texas Southern on the road. And like you said, we had a 13-point lead. But even with that being said, it comes down to that last possession. We need a defensive stop to push into overtime. But I just can see the fatigue on our face at that point where we just were fatigued and we couldn't make the play. They put it to overtime, and we go to overtime. We lose by 5 in overtime. We gave up 16 points in overtime. I promise you this, there's very few games. I played in a lot of overtime games where you score 11 points in the overtime period and lose. In that game, but it was fatigue.
Yeah.
I mean, we scored 11 points. It was more typically in an overtime game. Most teams score like 6 to 8 points.
Yeah.
I mean, but we scored 11 points and we lost that game. But we gave up 16. It was just we were tired, and I can't remember if we had foul trouble. And that's something else that killed us too with this limited roster. Whenever we got in foul trouble, it took away our aggression because guys didn't want to foul. We had nobody to go to. I mean, we had no.
Yeah.
So that was a real issue for us as well in terms of being aggressive when we got in foul trouble with such a short bench.
A couple of things we want to talk about, and we didn't do it the last few shows during the season. recruiting.
Yes, sir.
You kind of mentioned the needs. What are some of the things that you're looking at in recruiting? And by the way, it hasn't been officially released, but there will be some players in the transfer portal. We can't talk about it right now. Individuals are putting it on their social media platforms, but from a university and athletics perspective, can't officially release it. But there will be some players in the transfer portal. So when you look at this roster going forward, what are the wants? What are the needs as we try to get better for the upcoming year?
Well, before we get to the roster next year, I mean, I think the most important thing to address, and you're right, there are a few guys that's going into the transfer portal, but well, not yet. They're gonna put, they've informed me that they're gonna put their name in the transfer
Yeah.
portal, which opens up April 9th. But the most important thing in this climate of building a roster is retention. And I've talked to actually a couple of these guys, agents, and I'm not going to give up on not trying to get them back here. So we're just going to see how that all plays out. But this is the game you have to play. You have to re-recruit your guys, which is, as any coach would tell you, is a pain in the butt. Who wants to re-recruit a guy that you had, you coached, you developed, you got him better? I mean, take one for example, Tyson. You see, one. No, let me get this right. He took 21 shots, made 15. I always get this number. I always say he made 15 shots. I mean, he took 15 shots. He took 21 shots on the season, made 15 on the season, averaged 1 point a game. He comes with us. He averages close to 15 and almost a double-double, one of the best big guys in the league. But it's through the development. But I'm a firm believer in this. I mean, preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, and obviously the preparation is those guys, staying focused and doing what we ask them and just being good people, good men, hard workers, which they did and which he did, and when the opportunity, which we provided that opportunity, give them the opportunity, and those two things clash. I mean, we had two or three guys that just took advantage of that. But it's a tribute to them and their work ethic and their focus and to get better and to commit themselves to the game. But that being said, doesn't make it any easier when that happens. You get a kid who averaged 1 point a game, and now he's averaging 15 points a game, and you got to go back in and re-recruit him. But you know what? That's the name of the game, and that's what it is, and we're going to do it, and we're going to try to keep him here because the bottom line is this. Our opportunity and what we do here is probably better than anybody that he can go to or where he can go to. And I'm a firm believer in anything. And I teach my kids this all the time. Why leave the nest too early? Don't leave the nest too early. If you're in the nest, you're not ready to go fly as a big bird, just stay in the nest. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But everyone wants to fly at the big eagle.
Yeah.
So that's just the name of the game. That's the name of what we're dealing with these kids' mindset and mentalities right now.
You have a player, coach, that's going to a HBCU All-Star game.
Yes, he is.
Talk a little bit about that.
Very proud of Nick. Nick Woodard got invited to the HBCU All-Star game. I mean, a shout out to Travis Williams and his staff and his crew, Corn. A shout out to you as well. Those guys do a great job of recruiting. They've been to several of our games, and they identify and evaluate talent. I've been on the phone with them all year, just talking about different guys in our league. They want to get the top 24. Now, it's a game that the MEAC, which is in the Northeast, HBCU Conference in the Northeast, the SWAC, which is us, a Southeastern HBCU Conference, the SIAC, a Division II Southeastern type conference, and the CIAA, which is another Division II HBCU conference up in the Northeast, teams like Bowie State and those type of teams up in that region of the country. But they take the top 24 players, if I think it's 24, top 24 players out of those conferences, seniors, not players, not the top 24 seniors. Let me get that corrected. Top 24 seniors, and they have a huge All-Star game down in. It's going to be in Indianapolis this year at the Final Four. And I had the honor to go watch them practice last year. One of my guys that I worked for, one of the first guys that hired me, Luke DeLessio, who was the head coach at the time at Fayetteville. Now he's at Bloomfield State out of the CIAA. He was coaching the game, so I went down to the practices. Unbelievable job. Like I said, shout out to Travis Williams and his staff for putting on a phenomenal showcase for these young men. He invites NBA scouts, and there's NBA GMs and personnel there and agents for these guys to potentially have opportunities beyond playing college basketball. So Nick is going to have that opportunity, and my hope and my prayer is that he's going to take full advantage of that opportunity and do the best he can do and represent us in the finest way. He's a great young man. He will.
Couple of questions, and then we got Nate Kilbert coming up.
Yeah.
So the quick wants and needs when you go out and recruit bigs, mids, smalls, what are you looking at?
We're gonna. Well, you in my office today, overhearing some of these trips we got coming up, some recruiting trips. So no, we need a front line, some front line help. We need some guard help. Remember we only played 7.5 guys, so we got to balance out our roster a little better and get that thing up to 13 on scholarship, 15 overall. So yeah, we're looking for everything. So to that question, we're looking for frontline people, big guys. We're looking for shooting, a little more shooting and depth in our backcourt. So all those things we're looking for.
Coach, a comment came in. This season didn't go the way that we wanted, but we can see that once you get your full class, we will be okay.
Yep.
Schedule non-conference games close to what we had last year, just more home games. And you talked about Howard coming in. That's one home game.
Yep.
Are you going to try to get 2, 3, 4 of those?
Well, 100% going to try that, but I think it all comes down to me and AD haven't talked about this yet, but we have to talk about just from a budgetary standpoint and this is for all the fans, so you understand. I'm pretty crazy, and I'm a lunatic. You can say that about me, but scheduling this way, I'm really not that crazy. I mean, this is a strategic way of the university and our athletic department to raise money.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. We have to raise money, and so this is something that me and the AD work very closely on, as well as the president, to make sure that we can provide some support financially for our department. So this is why we do it. So we raise. I mean, we play these games. We're getting paid to play them. So I don't think most people understand that. I would love to play. If we have 13 non-conference games to play 6 home, 7, I would love that. But obviously, when you're playing home games, you're not getting paid. You're not, being paid. You're paying other people. So I think for us, especially last year, and I'm going to find out to what commitment we have to make to it this year in terms of raising money. But we had to raise money for the university, which I'm very happy to do, and I'm just proud that we was able to get what we got, and hopefully it's going to help in the areas that we need help in. And we have to do it again. We'll do it again. It's just for me. I understand the mission, and I just want our fans to understand the mission and just be patient. And the thing that I have to navigate and figure out is we're playing that brutal of a schedule and going to some of the places and some of the venues that we have to go to and be outmanned and overmatched. How do I keep it together to bring them back to? Because remember, we talked about 3 seasons. First season non-conference, the second season conference, third season the championship.
Yeah.
So how do going through that non-conference to keep everybody healthy and not wear anybody down, so we get to our second season, which is our conference, that we have full throttle, we can rock and roll, and then from that point to get to our third season, which is the most important season, that gets us to March Madness, that we really rocking and rolling and we're peaking. So we're going to figure it out. I mean, I'm confident. We're going to keep bringing in character kids, character young men, and we're going to keep bringing in good basketball players that our university, that our alumni base, that our fan base is going to be proud of. So, it's just unfortunate this year. Like, for me personally, it's my first year, and I know everyone's like, no, I was really upset. I was upset because we had injuries, and I felt bad for some of the guys that got hurt, and I was upset that we did not have a full tilt of players. Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if we had a full tilt and didn't have the injuries we had, I think things would have been a little bit different in terms of just, not to say that we would have been the best team in the league, but I think there would have been some of those games that, we wore down in. And I know there was a few we actually wore down in that we'd have had more people to throw at our opponent. So that would not have been the case.
That's Braves head coach Jake Morton. Coach, we appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
We'll take this time out here. We'll talk WNIT with Nate Kilbert coming up next here.
Real quick. Hey, shout out to Coach Kilbert. Heck of a job. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. I'm just so proud of what he's doing with his program and his girls. He got some great girls. They always mess with me. They always messing around with me. They're just great young women and great basketball players.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there front row. I'm excited to now I can watch a game in peace. Because all the other games, I was stressed out about our game.
Yeah.
So I might peak, but I couldn't watch it in peace. So now I'm going to watch the game in peace and cheer. I'm going to have my purple and gold on, maybe some couple pom-poms, and start cheering.
I need to get my camera out for that one.
No, please don't. I'm just playing about that.
Coach, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Nate Kilbert coming up next here on the Brave Sports Network.